Flours and flour mixtures. Flours can be made from the endosperm portion of cereal grains such as wheat, rye, oats, corn, barley, and rice. It can also be made from some non-cereal grains such as potatoes, nuts, soybeans, and some fruits and vegetables. Through starch and gluten, flours are able to provide baked products with structure, texture, and flavor. Flours are used to make both quick breads and yeast breads. With yeast breads, they are made with yeast, which produces carbon dioxide through fermentation, and you must wait for the bread to rise before you can bake it. For quick breads, the ingredients must be mixed briefly, and you have to bake them immediately. They are leavened through air, steam, and carbon dioxide. Cereal grain allergies. Cereal grain allergies occur when an allergic individual comes into contact with certain types of cereals. Two examples of cereal grain allergies would be Baker's asthma and celiac disease. With Baker's asthma, it occurs when an allergic individual inhales flour particles, and celiac disease is an immune disorder in which the body creates antibodies against gluten. The difference between milling and wet milling. With milling, the endosperm portion of grain kernels are ground into fine powder, which becomes the flour. There are 5 steps to the milling process. These 5 steps include breaking, purifying, reducing, sifting, and classifying. With wet milling, there is no mechanical grinding or breaking. The grains are first soaked in water, which softens the seed kernels and makes it easier to separate the components. There are many different types of flours. These flours can be categorized based on their protein and mineral content. The 2 major categories for flour include those that contain gluten and those that are gluten-free. Flours that contain gluten can be further broken down into wheat flours, treated wheat flours, and non-wheat grains. The differences in these flours are based off of the types of wheat that is used for their particular qualities. With wheat flours, they are also known as gram or entire wheat, and they are made from the entire wheat kernel, which includes the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. Examples of this would be whole wheat flours and all-purpose flours. With treated wheat, they are treated in order to improve their functional properties through processes such as aging, bleaching, and enrichment. And 2 examples of these would be aged flours and self-rising flours. Non-wheat grain flours are made from non-wheat grains, of course, such as roots and legumes, and 2 examples of this would be oat flour and rye flour. Flours without gluten in them can be broken down into 4 categories. These categories include grain flours, vegetable flours, legume flours, and nut flours. 2 examples of grain flours include cornmeal and rice flours. With cornmeal, it is made from yellow, white, and even some blue varieties of corn, and there are 2 types of grains. There's the medium grain, which is known as polenta, and the fine grain, which is known as cornmeal. With rice flours, they are naturally gluten-free, and they are popular in Asian cultures where it is usually used to make food products such as rice noodles. An example of vegetable flours would be one that is made out of potatoes. Potato flours are made after potatoes have been cooked, dried, and ground. It has a high starch content, which increases the loaf volume, and sometimes the liquids left over from the cooked potatoes can be used in making homemade breads. An example of legume flours would be soybean flour. It is higher in protein and fat than most flours, although there is defatted versions that are available. Soybean flours also adds moisture and texture to baked goods. Two examples of nut flours include almond meal flour and coconut flour. With the almond meal flour, whole almonds are ground in order to make it. It is usually used to bake desserts such as cookies and cakes, and it should go into the freezer for proper storage. With coconut flours, the coconuts usually creates a slightly sweet tasting flour that is high in fiber, and it has more moisture than most non-gluten flours. Flour mixture ingredients include leavening agents, eggs, sugar, salt, fat, and liquid. With leavening agents, they can either be physical, which means air or steam, biological, which means yeast and or bacteria, and chemical, which is the baking powder and or baking soda. With eggs, they enhance the structure of baked goods. They add color, flavor, and nutrient content. Sugar contributes to the sweetness, volume, moisture, tenderness, color, appearance, and caloric content of baked goods. Small amounts of salt may be added to flour in order to add flavor, produce a firmer dough, to improve the texture and volume of the flour, and also to provide the flour with longer shelf life. Fat added in flour creates a more tender crumb because it interferes with the formation of gluten. Liquids are needed in flour mixtures in order to hydrate the flour and to gelatinize the flour starch content. Baked goods may be prepared as either doughs or batters. Doughs are further broken down into two categories. There are soft doughs, which incorporates 1/3 cup of liquid for every cup of flour, and there are stiff doughs that have 1/8 cup of liquid for every 1 cup of flour. Doughs can be refrigerated with little to no effect on the overall quality of the dough itself. And examples of baked goods made through doughs include yeast rolls, biscuits, pastas, and cookies. With batters, they contain more liquid content than doughs do, and they are classified based on their moisture content into categories of drop batters or pour batters. Drop batters are called dropped because they are too thick to be poured. And baked goods made out of drop batters include muffins, cream puffs, and coffee cakes. With pour batters, they are fluid enough to be poured, piped, or spread. And baked goods made from these includes cookies, cakes, and also waffles and pancakes. When storing flours and flour mixtures, if you are storing dry flours or mixtures, you must keep them dry. They must be stored in metal, glass, or hard plastic airtight containers. And if you're trying to freeze flours or flour mixtures, it is preferred that you only freeze flour mixtures that have been kneaded, although you must allow them to defrost before they can be shaped and baked. and they may lose some of their original gases, so you might have to go through and knead them again before using them.